Disguised nurse stumbles into Millionaire's jet. Discover her inspiring Texas love story. Amelia woke before the dawn broke. The soft light painted across her cluttered room. She rolled out of her single bed, her heart already heavy with anxiety. Its cords tugged tight by the uncertainty that came with chasing dreams while caring for her ailing mother. Every morning felt like a standoff between obligation and ambition. As a nurse in the small Texas town she loved, Amelia spent her days in scrubs, healing others while her own world remained fragile, teetering like the precarious stacks of dishes in her sink. This day, however, was different. Amelia had volunteered for a charity auction in a lavish hotel ballroom miles from her familiar life, a welcome escape from the tightening grip of recession. Breaking free of her mundane existence sparked both curiosity and dread within her. As she navigated through the emotional chaos, she couldn't shake off the nagging voice reminding her of her mother's increasing needs. The memory of her momentarily lucid smile mixed with her vacant stares sent sharp pangs of guilt through Amelia. As she moved through the crowd, dressed in a borrowed dress that flattered none of her curves, she felt out of place, an accidental actress in a play of affluence. Then, in the distance, a sleek and shiny jet caught her eye. Somehow, in the flurry of excitement and confusion, she slipped into the aircraft, drawn by the laugh of the businessman waiting on board. Jack. His easy confidence wrapped around her like a warm blanket, momentarily lifting the weight of her responsibilities. They began to converse, his gentle inquiries causing her heart to flutter. She shared pieces of her life, how she juggled nursing and home, questioning whether her dreams were worth the price of her mother's care. "You must want more," he urged, his gaze unwavering. Beneath the charm lay a lure that felt dangerous, a taste of yearning she had forgotten existed. The thrill of this new world brushed against her, whispering tales of adventure she craved yet feared accessing. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Amelia hesitated. The widening chasm between her dreams and her reality flared within her chest. Should she dare reach for the unknown, or return to the well-trodden path of devotion and sacrifice? Emotion surged in waves. The warmth of Jack's presence ignited something buried deep, yet each laugh and tender glance pulled her farther from her duty to her ailing mother. Anxiety twisted through her mind. Would stepping into Jack's world weave her into a life filled with ambition or sever the bond with her past completely? Just as the moment began to feel like destiny, Jack's family scandal exploded in the tabloids, swirling like a storm. This chaotic world threatened to crash into Amelia's carefully constructed walls, and when her mother stumbled upon a revelation of her own, something that entwined their fates in ways unforeseen, Amelia's heart raced. Together they hovered on the edge of something remarkable yet perilous. She could only wonder, should she embrace the rush of love or retreat into the shadows where her heart had always resided? Suddenly, a chilling dread settled upon her. The choice ahead loomed like a precipice, all while the weight of a family secret began to press down on her soul with chilling force, threatening to unravel everything before she could make her choice. Amelia stood at the edge of an emotional precipice, her heart pounding as Jack's laughter echoed in her mind. The intoxicating thrill of possibility clashed violently with the heaviness of her obligations at home. Each moment spent with him spun a vivid tapestry of dreams that could slip through her fingers like sand. Struggling with the pull of duty, she felt both exhilaration and panic threading through her. She had always defined herself through her role as a caregiver. To venture beyond that identity felt both electrifying and terrifying. Jack's world was not just luxurious. It shimmered with opportunities that her small-town existence had withheld from her. Yet, with each enticing word he spoke, she felt the distance grow not only between them but within herself. What if her dreams surfaced only to reveal her inadequacies? Amelia's mind raced, replaying snippets of their conversation. "You must want more?" Jack's words were a catalyst, igniting a yearning inside her that she had buried for far too long. The chance to see a world beyond hospital walls, beyond the boundaries of her responsibilities, seduced her. But alongside this desire came guilt, a suffocating dread that left her gasping. How could she indulge in aspirations when her primary duty lay at home, with her mother who needed her? As she returned to reality, the flutter of anticipation was soon quelled by an imminent crisis. Her mother had taken a turn for the worse. A missed medication led to a frightening episode that morning, leaving Amelia scrambling between the call of her work and the demands of home. The delicate balance she had so painstakingly maintained felt as fragile as a soap bubble, ready to shatter at the slightest provocation. With each consultation at the hospital, Amelia found herself constantly evaluating her choices. Patients spoke of dreams. Each testimony echoed in her mind, drawing lines between who they were and who they wished to be. She listened, envious yet inspired, yearning to break free but aware that every step forward felt burdened by her mother's need for her support. During her late-night shifts, sleep-deprived yet contemplative, Amelia transcended her exhaustion through whispered conversations with herself. "What if I could integrate my life?" she mused. "What if I could pursue nursing on a broader canvas, infusing my passion with purpose?" Questions ignited in her mind, revealing insights she had never dared to confront previously. Could she truly expand her identity without losing her essence? Days turned into weeks, and while uncertainty clung stubbornly to her side, a glimmer of clarity began to emerge. The decision to pursue further training sparked a flicker of courage. Steps toward fulfillment shone brightly against the backdrop of her turbulent life. Perhaps she could carve a life where ambition and care flourished hand in hand. Then the unexpected arrived. A call from Jack, infused with urgency, invited her into a new challenge that beckoned, an opportunity for a collaboration at a health initiative that aligned with her nursing expertise. Her heart raced at the thought. Was this the chance she had been waiting for? A merging of their worlds into a venture that would let her soar professionally without neglecting her vital personal obligations? As the words tumbled out over the phone, promising new heights and sparks of excitement, Amelia held her breath. This could be her answer, a bridge between expectations and aspirations. Yet the undercurrent of anxiety wove its way back through her resolve. Could this be the breakthrough she needed, or merely yet another distraction from the responsibilities that tethered her? Her internal struggle intensified, and with a mix of determination and trepidation, she made her choice. But the question lingered. Could she balance this blossoming partnership with the shadow of her mother's health looming over her? The moment of truth pressed upon her like an imminent storm, and as she contemplated her next steps, the horizon beckoned with promise and uncertainty alike. Before she could act on her decision, however, a troubling message reached her, one that threatened to overhaul every plan meticulously crafted. This new revelation could either derail her emerging path or direct her into an unforeseen chapter of her life. The stakes had never been higher. Amelia needed to confront her reality head-on. Amelia stared at her phone in disbelief when the notification pinged. The message was from her brother, laden with disturbing details. Their mother's condition had worsened significantly, and a hospital stay was now unavoidable. The news twisted in her stomach, knotting her resolve. That precarious balance she had carefully curated, the tightrope she walked between duty and aspiration, splintered under the weight of this new reality. She felt a sharp tug toward her family obligations, her heart racing with the implications of what lay ahead. A hospital, where patients regularly whispered their dreams into the ether, now suddenly represented not just a place of healing, but one of deepening burdens. The idea of stepping into a role as Jack's collaborator seemed absurd in the face of this heavy expectation. Her thoughts swirled violently. Was it selfish to even consider embracing this opportunity with Jack? Every promise they had discussed, a health initiative that could amplify her nursing career, faded into the background, overshadowed by the urgency to be present for her family. A nagging voice in her mind argued that pursuing her professional ambitions might evoke a rebellion within her spirit that she could no longer ignore. But reconciling that ambition with her mother's deteriorating health felt insurmountable. Yet in the tumult of these conflicting threads, a thread of instinct tugged at her. Could her commitment to her mother coexist with her own ambitions? Daily interactions with patients echoed through her mind, striking her with a sudden realization. Every nurse had to reconcile care with personal ambitions. To be effective, she would need to practice self-care. This was not about abandoning her family, but enriching her ability to help them through her own growth. This revelation sparked a shimmer of hope. With renewed determination, Amelia began crafting a plan. If she could structure her time efficiently, maximize her hours at the hospital, collaborate remotely with Jack during his initiatives, and rely on her brother for support, maybe, just maybe, she could juggle both. Amelia dived into research about the health initiative, devouring every detail she could find about its impact. Each article she read reignited her passion, and even as anxiety clawed at her, she began to visualize how her skills would contribute to the broader cause. Here lay not just a chance to change her life, but a pathway to fulfill her desire to help others, expanding the circle of care she so desperately sought to uphold in her family. She called Jack that evening, bracing herself for his enthusiastic response. He spoke with vigor about broadening the health initiative's outreach, detailing how Amelia's experience could mold their strategies. It felt like an electric handshake through the phone, sealing a partnership that could be mutually beneficial. Yet, the familiar weight of guilt lingered slightly in the back of her mind, whispering doubts about her choices while she navigated her dual responsibilities. Later that night, she stood at the edge of her mother's hospital room, reading the room's soft neon glow. As she watched her mother sleep, a swell of resolute love surged within her. This venture could breathe life into both her professional and personal identities. Nursing rooted her values, while her dreams dared her to grow beyond familiar boundaries. Amelia became imbued with a vision. She would launch this endeavor, a bridge spanning her two worlds, not an anchor chaining her down. But just as she began to chart her journey, another notification flashed. A financial figure that could either make or break her decision had just arrived. The amount could mean granting a semblance of stability for her family or propelling her ambitions forward. Amelia's heart raced anew as she considered what this meant for her future and her mother's well-being. Would this figure finally tip the scale toward a hopeful balance, or threaten to unravel her carefully spun plans? As she pressed her fingertips against the cold glass window, the storm lurking in the distance mirrored her tumultuous emotions. She was standing at yet another crossroads, forced to examine the true cost of pursuing her dreams. The moment of reckoning had arrived, and she could feel the weight of a choice that would shape not just her future, but her identity itself. Amelia's breath hitched slightly as she reviewed the financial figure displayed on her phone, the contours of her future blurring into nebulous uncertainty. It wasn't just a number. It felt like the embodiment of her decisions, a portal to either security or chaos. Could this single sum justify the risk she was taking? With determination swelling in her chest, she began to envisage the multiple roles she would play in the coming weeks: daughter, nurse, partner in a groundbreaking initiative. The weight of expectation loomed large with each of these titles, yet an essential piece pulled her forward: the promise of greater fulfillment. To piece together a plan that allowed for both her family obligations and her own ambitions meant beating the clock. The night air felt taut with possibilities as she began to strategize. The fatigue threatening to engulf her was countered by flashes of renewed purpose. Amelia opened her laptop and delved into the intricacies of the health initiative, eagerly charting her thoughts and ideas. Jack's enthusiasm echoed in her mind as she began to formulate how her nursing expertise could not only elevate the project, but also integrate her experiences in the familial sphere. A dual perspective, she thought. Patients are not just their conditions, they are encompassed in families, like hers. She commenced drafting an outline of strategies, shaking off the insidious whispers of doubt. With each keystroke, her confidence swelled like a tide. Consolidating her focus into actionable steps registered as a personal breakthrough. Perhaps this juggling act wasn't a risk but an opportunity, a chance to evolve amid adversity. Yet beneath the layers of optimism, a flicker of fear lurked. What if her mother's health took another turn for the worse? The following day, Amelia stepped into the hospital, her heart trailing somewhere between duty and ambition. Each familiar face, patients, nurses, doctors, formed the backdrop for her internal struggles. As she navigated the sterile corridors, she felt the pulse of her community, a vibrant heartbeat driven by shared experiences and quests for healing. Her first encounter was with Mrs. Winslow, a tenacious patient with whom Amelia had bonded through shared resilience. "You look determined today, dear," the older woman observed with perceptive clarity. "What's on your mind?" Caught off guard, Amelia hesitated, but ultimately decided to share pieces of her journey. "I am embarking on a project that could really help other people, but I'm also worried about my mother." Mrs. Winslow leaned back against her pillows, a knowing smile emerging. "Sometimes, opening ourselves to new paths enriches those we care for. We don't always realize how intertwined our aspirations can be with our duties. Trust yourself." The simple counsel ignited a flame within Amelia. Mrs. Winslow's words transformed into a lifeline. Maybe the balance she yearned for was not impossible. Nursing was more than just a job to sustain. It was a vocation that revealed intrinsic power, one that could inspire others while simultaneously advancing her own journey. At lunch, she took a moment to step outside, breathing in the air infused with capacity for change. A small cluster of trees burst into vibrant colors that mirrored her evolving emotions. Yet making a decision required more than affirmation. Action must follow declaration. That evening she dialed Jack, ready to recalibrate the initiative's strategies, incorporating not only the health outcomes, but also family dynamics into their approach. Yet indecision tugged at her. Despite her eagerness, the implications of her next steps loomed large. As they spoke, Jack's voice brimming with excitement only amplified what she already sensed. This was a pivotal moment for both of them. "I want to integrate family considerations into our work. People need not only health solutions but also a supportive environment," Amelia asserted, feeling the weight of her assertion resonate. "Absolutely. That's a game changer," Jack exclaimed. But amid the exhilaration, her mind raced through the implications. Balancing strategies with her family's needs meant stepping into uncharted territory, full of potential pitfalls. As they ended the call, Amelia found herself reluctant to step out of her aspirations and back into the familiarity of doubt. She needed to center her purpose, to resolve the scatter of her thoughts into a singular focus. Just as she began crafting her next move, another notification pinged, an unexpected message from her brother, layered with both urgency and concern. The weight it carried could twist her path irrevocably. Her heart twisted again in the familiar grip of uncertainty, leaving her poised on the precipice of decisions that would shape her life. Would this message provide clarity or confuse her path further? The moment of truth captured her in a way that reverberated with sharp urgency. The message from her brother blinked insistently on the screen, its harsh light cutting through the murky haze of uncertainty suffocating Amelia. Her mind raced, a drumbeat of anxiety matching the rapid flicker of her heart. He wouldn't reach out unless there was something urgent. A family matter or perhaps news about their mother, seasoned with layers of emotional complexity. Was she ready for whatever awaited her within the confines of those few typed words? Taking a deep breath, Amelia pressed her thumb against the notification. Her brother's message unfurled, his tone both urgent and wavering, evoking a sense of foreboding. "Amelia, we need to talk. It's about Mom. Call me when you can." Words echoed in her mind. "We need to talk." A familiar swirl of worry gripped her. The fears she had managed to compartmentalize resurfaced, threatening to encompass her efforts toward the health initiative, her aspirations of family integration, the delicate balance she was desperate to achieve. After a moment's hesitation, she called him, the distance between her hopes and his voice narrowing as the line connected. "Daniel?" Her tone hovered between calm and apprehension, a tightrope she walked daily. "Amelia, it's not good," he started, the tremor in his voice confirming her fears. "Mom had another episode last night. I don't know how to handle it. We might need to consider options. Options. The word felt like a weight settling in her gut. Over the years, they had tussled with decisions that slid into murky territory: treatment plans, care facilities, family dynamics. Each one felt more like a surrender of their control. Yet that wasn't the path Amelia wanted to take. Not now, when she was finally on the brink of carving her own legacy in the medical community. "I'll be there, Daniel. Just tell me what you need," she replied, the certainty in her voice stark against the tumult within. She knew she needed not only to support her family, but to remain anchored in her evolving identity within the healthcare initiative. As the call ended, Amelia's thoughts clashed like wild horses. She couldn't step away from her burgeoning project, but her mother's health demanded attention too. What was the cost of ambition when weighed against familial love and responsibility? She envisioned a shadowy crossroads, her mother's concerns on one side, her life's ambitions on the other. Digging deeper into her emotions, a pull of resolve surged within her, challenged but unwavering. Maybe her nursing career, the agency she sought, was precisely what her family needed. She had the tools, the knowledge, the ability to intertwine her family's needs with the health initiative. It forged her path moving forward, one created from the very chaos she feared. That evening she resolved to confront this crossroad head-on. Rather than viewing her roles as disparate, she envisioned them as interconnected threads within a larger tapestry. There lay the challenge. How could she synthesize both areas of her life, make them coalesce rather than collide? With renewed purpose, she began drafting a proposal for their initiative that incorporated family support systems, focusing on how a holistic approach could further healing processes. She meticulously outlined aspects such as caregiver considerations and emotional counseling. Her fingers danced over keys, energizing her mind with purpose. Maybe she wasn't dividing her focus but enriching it, providing a nurturing environment for her family while pursuing her passion. As the night deepened, she felt her confidence solidify. Maybe the very ambivalence that threatened to tear her apart was the catalyst she needed to rise stronger. Yet still a nagging voice whispered warnings. Was she perhaps overextending herself? Amelia paused and gazed out the window, the stars glimmering starkly against the night sky, an audience to her quiet ambitions. In that moment, the tension in her chest transformed into a resilient fire. She needed clarity from her brother about the situation at home, but she also recognized the rising potential to meld her careers, nursing and family, into a cohesive vision. Just as she began to weave the strands of a definitive action plan, another message popped up on her phone. This one was from Jack, a prompt asking for an urgent discussion about the project. She felt a ripple of electricity. The stakes were climbing higher. Would she find a way to balance her family obligations and her own aspirations, or would one force her to abandon the other? The question was no longer theoretical. It loomed over her next steps, casting shadows over the paths she might choose. Suddenly, the phone felt heavier in her hand, not just a device, but a crossroads in her life. Could this be the moment she faced the most significant challenge yet? Amelia exhaled deeply, weighing the competing priorities in her mind. Jack's proposal, and the implications tied to it, ignited a flicker of hope within her. But her brother's concerns about their mother enveloped her in uncertainty. Sitting upright, she felt suddenly aware how the bright lights of her computer screen paled against the looming darkness of the unknowns awaiting her. Her phone vibrated again, a stark reminder of the impending choice she faced. Tapping the screen, she opened Jack's message and felt an adrenaline rush mixed with trepidation. Was this moment more significant than the impending family crisis? The projects at work had garnered momentum, and pressure demanded her focus like a relentless tide. Feeling the pull of her responsibilities, Amelia pushed herself to think strategically. Jack was a force in the health initiative, an invaluable ally, whose enthusiasm ignited the project's direction. If she could impress him with her proposal, it might secure not only her position, but elevate the project altogether. Success here could mean more resources, essential connections, and, crucially, an environment where both her aspirations and her family's needs could be addressed. but was pushing forward here merely evading the family crisis at hand? Ruminating, she skimmed the concise points she'd tailored into her proposal, a blend of emotional support for caregivers, a focus on holistic health approaches, and integrating family dynamics into healing processes. They weren't merely phrases. These articulated her vision, one she believed could change lives, including her mother's. She glanced again at her phone. A thought coursed through her. Perhaps Jack's meeting could answer more than just professional inquiries. By articulating her dual ambitions now, Amelia might shape the narrative of her career trajectory. Maybe she could demonstrate how close to home her vision truly hit. Scrambling to capture the threads of inspiration, she typed a reply, requesting a meeting to expound upon her ideas. As she hit send, Amelia reveled momentarily in the surge of confidence that flooded her veins. She could take command of her story. She might transform her challenge into an opportunity for growth. Yet, the jubilance faltered. A stark reminder of the emotional weight of her family situation pressed at the forefront of her mind. Abandoning the desk, she wandered slowly through the dimly lit hallways of her home. The pictures displayed on the walls reflected joyous memories. Birth announcements, birthday parties, and vacations shared with her mother. Loss loomed heavy over the cheerful faces. How could she reconcile the urgency of her mother's situation with her dreams? In her heart, compassion competed against ambition, each pulling her in opposite directions. The emotional distance felt insurmountable as the uncertainty grew thicker like fog. Returning to her laptop, Amelia felt compelled to draft an outline of what she would pitch to Jack. As the words shifted fluidly through her fingers onto the digital page, the gnawing worries of the family crisis dulled, focusing instead on the potential she was cultivating. Suddenly recognizing this wasn't merely about her job, but about redefining who she was, a nurse, a daughter, and an advocate for families navigating health crises, she paused. The complexity of it all combined with her ambitions urged her to dive deeper. With renewed vigor, she shifted her mindset. This was not choosing one fate over another. She could weave them together. To embrace both facets of her life would be her true challenge. Each keystroke turned into an affirmation of herself, both in her family role and in her career aspirations, teaching her that she needed to embrace her own narrative. Then her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up with another message, this time from her brother. Anticipation struck hard in her chest as she unlocked the screen, uncertainty creeping back in. "Amelia, can we talk tonight? I think I have some ideas." Her heart raced as she considered the implications of Daniel's message. Had he found a way to approach their mother's situation together? Or was this merely a preamble to more difficult discussions? The dual pressure of standing on the edge of two precipices felt overwhelming. She had an opportunity to redefine her purpose. But what if the path forward would disrupt the delicate balance she was trying to maintain? Would she be ready to face Daniel and navigate the turbulent waters of family meeting with the same courage she was trying to muster for her visions at work? The ticking clock worked against her, winding her tension tighter. In that moment, Amelia had to confront not just the trajectory of her ambition, but of her very identity. This was her moment of truth. The challenge ahead was formidable, and the stakes were climbing higher than she had ever anticipated. Amelia stood before her mirror, eyes tracing the contours of her face, searching for the strength she needed. The reflection back was a blend of determination and trepidation. She was about to engage in a dialogue that could redefine her family's framework while simultaneously positioning herself in a new light at work. Each aspect of her life intertwined like threads in a tapestry, and the urgency of her next steps sent a ripple of anxiety through her. Her phone buzzed again, stirring her from contemplation. She glanced at the screen, noting the time until her scheduled call with Daniel. With a decisive inhale, she focused back on her proposal. Jack, with an open mind, could grasp the personal significance of her project. She had to present herself not just as a professional but as a daughter who understood the intricate balance between care and ambition. The proposal's outline glistened on her laptop screen like a beacon. She meticulously revised language that described emotional support as vital. It wasn't simply an add-on, but a keystone of healing. With each alteration, Amelia wove in her beliefs that resonated with her immediate life circumstances, reaffirming her vision. Yet guilt nagged at her. In devoting time to her career, was she betraying her mother's imminent needs? The thought hung heavy. Daniel's message echoed in her mind. Could he provide the clarity she sought? Together, they could forge a plan, a united front against difficult realities. But that required her to risk vulnerability, to admit she didn't have all the answers. Facing her brother would mean confronting not only their mother's condition, but also the likelihood that their life paths might diverge as they tried to navigate their individual responsibilities. Would Daniel resent her for pursuing her career first? Amelia retreated into her thoughts, weighing professional ambitions against the demands of family loyalty. The impending confrontation felt daunting but necessary. As she glanced at the blank document once more, she understood perhaps the answer did not lie solely in either direction, but in how she balanced both. Determined, she began to jot down a few key points she hoped to raise during the call. The potential for collaborative decision-making regarding their mother's care, the importance of open communication in navigating their fears, and an invitation to Daniel to share his thoughts on her project. After all, it brought together significant aspects of both their lives. Then, a flicker of doubt. Would he dismiss her perspectives entirely? Would he criticize her attempts to combine personal and professional fronts? The inner battle escalated, intensifying the pressure she felt. When the clock struck the appointed hour, Amelia took a moment to ground herself. The conversation would demand courage. Embracing both roles did not mean sacrificing one for the other. Instead, she wanted to show Daniel and herself that she could stand firm, blending her vocation with being a daughter. With a final, steadying breath, she dialed her brother's number, heart pounding as it connected. The familiar sound of his voice, laced with concern, greeted her. "Hey, Amelia, thanks for making time. I've been thinking a lot about Mom." His tone echoed her fears but also ignited a flicker of resolve. This was a moment of fortify, a chance to embrace the dual facets of her life rather than retreat from them. Would sharing her aspirations drive a wedge between them, or could it forge a deeper understanding of their shared burden? Amelia steeled herself, ready to engage with both the weight of familial obligation and the light of her professional ambition. "I have some ideas too, Daniel. Let's talk," she said, her resolve crystallizing. The conversation ahead could shift everything. For each question they faced, there could be solutions, not just for their mother, but for the evolving landscape of their brother-sister dynamic. As they discussed options, just as Jack would soon hear her ideas, a sense of empowerment began to take root. Yet deep down she wondered, would their family unite in support, or would this dialogue expose fractures that ran deeper than she had anticipated? The tension hung in the air as they talked, each word echoing both hope and uncertainty. Amelia felt it then, a wave of energy. If she embraced her role as a daughter alongside being a professional, maybe she could influence their journey into healing, both as a family and as individuals. As they concluded their call, new ideas swirling in her mind alongside old fears, Amelia realized there was no turning back. Stepping onto this tightrope required her to navigate the delicate balance of ambition and love. Tomorrow would bring Jack's meeting, a proving ground for her resolve in both domains. But as she hung up, a disquieting thought emerged. How would her family really react when they learned the full extent of her ambitions? Would it deepen their bond or deepen the divide? Tomorrow loomed like a storm on the horizon, and Amelia knew she would have to brace for the winds of change. Amelia woke before dawn, the pale light filtering through her curtains outlining the shapes of her room. The moments of her conversation with Daniel replayed in her mind, the weight of each word still thick in the air. She hadn't fully known what to expect, but the tentative steps they had taken together to address their mother's situation felt like walking on a tightrope, one that demanded both balance and bravery. With a mug of coffee warming her hands, she perched at her small desk. The proposal she had crafted lingered on her computer, waiting for her to breathe life into it during the day's meeting with Jack. As the sun edged higher, illuminating both her anxiety and determination, Amelia felt the persistent stress of her dual roles closing in around her. Could she engineer a plan that incorporated her family's needs while preserving the essence of her career ambitions? Giving in to a moment of reflection, Amelia jotted down key phrases that resonated with her mindset. Collaboration over conflict and honoring both paths adorned her notepad. They articulated the unuttered fears that bordered her aspirations. There was an urgency behind her writing. Every phrase crafted was a step toward not only solidifying her proposal, but affirming her right to pursue her dreams, even as her mother's health faltered. The clock ticked on, and the inevitability of the meeting loomed closer. She put pen to paper, allowing herself to draft points regarding how emotional support could enhance their mother's care. Suddenly, she had a revelation. Perhaps her project could link more deeply with her family's needs than she had initially considered. The model she envisioned lacked only one pivotal element. It required her own emotional engagement, not just as a hawk-eyed professional, but as a daughter who felt the stakes acutely. With this newfound insight, Amelia's thoughts shifted gears. She picked up her phone and typed Daniel a quick message, suggesting they could meet that evening to kick around ideas further. Fostering open communication felt essential. They needed the space to share anxieties, hopes, and constructive solutions without judgment. There was an opportunity here to co-create a framework of care for their mother that also respected her professional journey. Hours melded together as the meeting with Jack approached. Amelia dressed with purpose, pulling on a blazer that symbolized professionalism, but still carried a note of warmth. As she practiced her main points in the mirror, resolving to embrace her multifaceted identity, she struggled with the flickering echoes of doubt, asking if she was overstepping. What if Jack didn't understand the depths of her aspiration or the significance of balancing her career with family obligations? In the car ride to the office, she sensed the city waking up, the streets gradually filling with the rhythm of busy lives. With every stoplight, her resolve solidified further. A sensation resembling adrenaline surged through her, pushing aside fear. The divide she felt between personal and professional into which she had fallen would not define her path. She could shatter this dichotomy. Pacing her breaths, she entered the conference room, and Jack greeted her with a smile that lit the atmosphere. As she presented her ideas, the initial pulse of anxiety faded into something more profound, a quiet confidence rooted in vulnerability. Every point she made felt like a stone cast into a still pond, rippling out toward both her aspirations and the family ties that tethered her. Jack listened intently, nodding and jotting down notes. For once, Amelia sensed the gravity of her proposal transcend her expectations. It wasn't merely about securing funding or a career leap. This effort could enhance her family's existential experience during a painful chapter. As she concluded, Jack leaned back, reflecting on what she had laid out with visible interest. "Amelia, I think you've got something really solid here," he said. Fueling this flicker of hope, a rush of adrenaline surged through her. For the first time, she saw the potential to bridge her dual identities without sacrificing either. But with the looming approval of her proposal came the far more pressing concern of how her family would receive her ambition. Would they embrace this path forward together, or would her newfound aspirations become another source of pain? Just as she prepared to delve into that tension, the weight of her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Daniel, the anxiety over their fractured dynamics resurfacing with a blend of dread and anticipation. "Can we talk later? I need to discuss something important." The moment of truth was nearing, and Amelia felt a turmoil of possibilities brewing just below the surface. Each choice rippled out, framing a new reality, one where love and ambition coexisted. As her heart raced, she realized that it was time to confront the unforeseen challenge of uniting both worlds she dearly held. Would they align, or was it too late to change the narrative? Amelia's fingers nervously tapped against the table as she awaited Daniel's arrival at the cafe. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, but it did little to quell the rising storm of her thoughts. What if their conversation unearthed deeper issues? What if he couldn't see her ambition as something unifying and not divisive? The light streaming through the window seemed to mock her uncertainty, illuminating each crack in her resolve. When Daniel finally walked in, his familiar features were clouded with an intensity that immediately heightened her anxiety. The moment their eyes met, Amelia felt a jolt, a mix of hope and trepidation. Would this meeting lead to reconnection, or would it deepen the rift that had formed between them? "Hey," she greeted, motioning to an open seat. "Amelia," he replied, his voice a shade more formal than she remembered. As they settled into an awkward silence, she couldn't help but feel the weight of their shared history hovering over them. "I got your message," he said finally, leaning forward. "What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, she decided to confront the elephant in the room. "I think we need to talk about Mom, and how our different visions affect us." Her heart raced as she sensed his apprehension. The stakes of this conversation felt impossibly high. Daniel nodded, his expression shifting from tension to concern. "I've been thinking about that too, but I need to understand how you plan to manage all of this. Your career aspirations are important, yes," she interrupted, her voice firming. "But they don't overshadow my commitment to her care. I believe we can find a way that brings both together. It doesn't have to be either or." He studied her, his brow furrowed as if weighing her words. "You're saying you can sort all this and still excel at work? That seems ambitious." "It is," she acknowledged, biting her lip momentarily to steady herself. "But I think if we both commit, if we collaborate on this, we could create a care plan for Mom that isn't just sustainable, but also honors what we both want professionally." There was a flicker of hope in Daniel's gaze, but it was quickly masked by guarded skepticism. "And what if your ambition takes us away from her when she needs us most? This whole project, it's sizable." Each word resonated with the tension they had grappled with since their mother's diagnosis. "But it can also enhance our family life. I have this proposal I'm working on at my job. It could not only provide for Mom, but also develop a framework that we can both be involved in. It doesn't have to be one-sided." Amelia leaned in, her voice softening. "Please try to see it from my perspective. This project could be how we bring more than just support into her life. It could be something uplifting for all of us." The sharp edges of resentment softened as Daniel's expression became contemplative. He fiddled with his coffee cup, and for the first time she felt a bridge beginning to form rather than a wall rising higher. "Okay, I'm willing to hear it. But I need to know you won't lose sight of what matters most. Our family." "Daniel," she implored, her eyes locking onto his. "I promise you, I can honor both paths. I need to do this for her and for us. You have to trust me." As they continued talking, the apprehension shifted into a productive dialogue, uncovering shared anxieties about balancing their responsibilities. It was exhausting but necessary work, and for the first time in a long while, she felt the weight of her ambition merging with her familial obligations in a way that could produce something meaningful. "Maybe we can work together officially, create a care model that incorporates both of our strengths," Daniel suggested after a heartbeat of contemplation. A swell of emotion rose within her. Was he suggesting they could actually partner in this? This idea of collaboration filled her with a sense of purpose, a potential for healing that she hadn't expected to find. "Absolutely. Let's brainstorm strategies tonight," Amelia responded, exhilarated. But just as the conversation reached an encouraging turning point, her phone buzzed again from the depths of her purse. This time it was a message from Jack, the urgency palpable. "I've been thinking more about your proposal. Can we meet again today?" Panic surged, and the newfound camaraderie with Daniel threatened to fracture. She felt torn between her professional aspirations and personal commitments, the very tightrope she had walked before. Could she balance it all, or was she about to stumble? "I have to take this," she said, her tone clipped as she excused herself. Stepping away from the table, the uncertainties of her dual lives loomed, their shadows stretching long as the corners of her world began to curve inward. Her heart raced as she opened Jack's message. Would this moment define her commitment to her family, or push her further into the unknown risk of pursuing her ambitions? Just as she read the latest lines, a striking realization clouded her mind. What if choosing one path meant sacrificing the other? An internal conflict ignited, and the tension swelled within. Everything she aspired to could pivot wildly as she faced the unavoidable choices ahead. As she stared at the phone, the ground of her ambition trembled beneath her. She was not just balancing two worlds, but on the precipice of a transformative decision that could alter their family's fate forever. Would she dare to forge ahead? Amelia's heart raced as she took a deep breath, intertwining hopes and fears converging within her. The messages from Jack shimmered with new opportunities, while her conversation with Daniel had opened pathways of collaboration she hadn't anticipated before. In those moments, she knew it was time to forge her identity, not only as a daughter, but as a visionary in the nursing field. The late afternoon sun poured through the cafe windows as she returned to her brother's table, where Daniel waited, a hopeful expectation etched across his face. The conversation had shifted from heavy burdens to collaborative possibilities, and a newfound synergy flickered between them. "Hey, I'm back. Sorry about that," she said, positioning herself firmly at the table. "What do you think about the idea of us creating a framework together? Exploring how we can help Mom through a structured plan that addresses her needs alongside our careers?" Daniel's expression softened. "I like that. It's about combining our strengths. I can support you when you're busy, especially with this project you're involved in. We can figure this out together." His admission felt like a gift, binding their paths anew. "Right," Amelia beamed, excitement igniting within her as the vision crystallized in her mind. "If I can present this collaborative plan to Jack, it would show that nursing isn't just about treating patients. It can also advocate for family dynamics in healthcare. Our approach can help others like us." With each thread of conversation, the tapestry of her dual ambitions began to weave a coherent picture. Empowered by her brother's willingness to embrace this partnership, they settled into a targeted discussion about strategies, identifying resources, and bolstering support systems for caregivers like themselves. They even inspired each other with personal anecdotes of care, melding their hopes, fears, and strategies into a comprehensive plan. In that moment, the tension of choosing between family commitment and career ambition began to dissipate. Amelia's vision anchored firmly in place, a commitment to both frontiers. She could be the bridge that combined her personal growth with her responsibilities, ensuring care was not just a profession, but a holistic practice, infusing empathy. As their meeting drew to a close, they finalized a plan to present to their mother upon her discharge. Daniel agreed to liaise with medical staff while Amelia would prepare presentations for health stakeholders about the initiative's potential. Each step they took felt like a significant stride toward healing. Later that evening, Amelia met with Jack, her spirit buoyed by the day's empowering talks. With confidence radiating from her demeanor, she unfurled her ideas. Jack listened, captivated by her proposal that intertwined familial care with professional dedication. "This is transformative. Your insight could revolutionize care in our community, blending personal experience with professional expertise," he enthused. Feelings of pride surged through Amelia as she presented her vision. It wasn't just a professional leap. It held a promise of stability for her family. She could finally integrate her twin identities, being both a nurse and a dedicated daughter, effectively shattering the walls that had confined her dreams. Encouraging feedback flooded her from Jack, and by the end of their meeting, their collaboration sprouted into solid groundwork, grant proposals, and actionable timelines. Each affirmation further cemented her confidence. Tangible recognition of her capabilities felt like a long-awaited embrace. That night, Amelia woke from a deep sleep, feeling lighter than she had in years, her resolve stronger than ever. Her mother's health was still frail, but now an actionable plan lay in place. She experienced a profound transformation within herself. Uncertainty shifted to clarity, fear transformed into strength, and self-doubt replaced with empowerment. As the days unfolded, Amelia amazed herself by how gracefully she managed her roles. Patients praised her innovative ideas, colleagues sought her insights, and, best of all, her mother's health stabilized under the combined focus of both siblings. The momentum of her dual roles had sparked a wellspring of confidence, like sunbeams warming the contours of hope. Weeks later, amid the bustling atmosphere of the hospital, Amelia reveled in her newfound position, comfortable in the synthesis of her roles. The health initiative flourished, earning recognition for its pioneering vision that catered to patient and family needs concurrently. Daniel stood proudly beside her, each uplifting the other, a testament to their united commitment. Amelia didn't just achieve her professional accolades, she cultivated a deeper relationship with her brother and, ultimately, with herself. In embracing her intricate story, she found fulfillment through the integration of her aspirations, crafting a legacy that honored both her patients and her family. As she stepped into her next shift, she carried with her the remarkable strength that resilience breeds. This was the moment she had worked tirelessly to create. A narrative not just of duty, but of cohesive living, threading passion, care, and ambition into an empowering tapestry. From extraordinary to ordinary, Amelia had reshaped her life's framework, emerging with solid confidence and profound clarity. Now is your moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss out on the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire and uplift you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure others hear Amelia's inspirational story. Comment below your reactions and theories about her incredible transformation. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this life-changing conclusion.